welcome to Diaspora episode 2. I brought the perfect person for the second episode. It's my good friend Eddie. Eddie's one of the most intelligent, unique person I ever talked to in my life. He's always have a unique way of looking at life. So I know he come from a diverse background, so that's why I know he'll be a good person to talk to about on the podcast. But we've had very interesting conversation behind the camera before, so I'm excited to actually bring one of the conversation on camera. So I enjoy talking to him as always. The podcast is going to be in 2 sections, but it's the first section we recorded. We're going to have the second section already, second part at some point in the near future. I appreciate you guys for checking this out. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. God bless. All right, brother. Welcome, man. Welcome to Diaspora. I'm excited to have you, man. So I'm talking to my good friend, Eddie. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. And so where you from originally, Eddie?
So that's kind of a complicated question. Well, more loaded than complicated. My folks are originally from South Sudan. I was born in Kenya. I was born in Kenya. I went to high school in Uganda, Kampala, the capital city. And so sort of right after high school, I left Africa and came all the way to Washington State. And that's, in a nutshell, where I'm from.
So that's like, how many countries? That's like 3 countries? So you were born in South Sudan?
No, I was born in Kenya.
Kenya?
My folks are from South Sudan.
They're from South Sudan.
Yeah, but, obviously family ties and all of these things. I still claim South Sudan as, my home because it's essentially where
you're from.
Both my folks are originally from. And even living in Kenya, there's quite a tight-knit South Sudanese community over there. And, we sort of did a lot of things together. If you could imagine the Filipino community here.
Right.
They obviously have their own churches, they have their own venues and things that they actually do
together.
Yeah. So in that regard, we were in Kenya. We were not exactly
in Kenya. It's kind of like the Jewish community, like in New York.
No, yeah, we were definitely a community for sure.
Right.
Sure. We there were no subtleties about whose tribe this one's from and whatnot. None of that really mattered. But just living in Kenya, we had enough things in common in respect to living in Kenya that we had to stick together. So in respect to community and identity, I suppose, yes, I could definitely call myself South Sudanese in that regard entirely.
But you grew up in Kenya?
Oh, entirely. I was actually born in Nairobi.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, I was. It's a funny story actually, because I think the hospital doesn't exist anymore. But
it's not like an African thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow, interesting. So you also say UG though. So you also
man
live a bit in Uganda.
Shit. So can I curse on
Yeah, you turned it too late.
It's
in the waters, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a. I was there for a total of 6 years, and it was such a fond place for me. I can honestly tell you, I am who I am today because I lived in Uganda.
So can you give me a little timeline? So
like
how old were
I
you?
started. I was exactly 13 years old in 2001. And
I remember the year. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I remember days and years quite specifically when it comes to certain things. But I remember the trip because it was the first time in ever, I think, that me and my dad had actually gone anywhere together. And it was quite the long trip because I remember we had to cross the Kenya-Uganda border. And that would later on become something I did so regularly for 6 years that first trip, for me to remember it so vividly, is kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, I remember the only trip I ever took my dad to was to Benin, which is the neighboring country, to Nigeria. It was the only time that me and my dad ever went one on one on a trip. I think it's because
Right.
of like we don't get a lot of one on one time with our dads.
Nah,
So
not.
any
It's not a thing. It's
so
not a
anytime
thing.
you have that experience, and it's also like you are going to a new country, so you're excited and nervous. So your all your senses are so awakened. That's why like moving here or having those kind of trips as a
Oh,
kid,
you definitely got to be
you
aware.
remember
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. Everything was. It's so crazy because like it's like I'm looking at it now. I can even remember what the face of the guy who was selling me pieces of chicken on the side of the window on the bus that we took from Nairobi. Started in the morning, ended up getting to Kampala by like 6 or 7 p.m. So about 4 o'clock, I remember it was called Mabira Forest. There's obviously the one of the ways, one of the main highways coming into Kampala. You had to pass through a national park, and at some point, this national park literally had just roast meat on the side of the road.
Wow,
If you can imagine a road that's endless for a good at least hour or so, and then boom, just out of nowhere, bloody chicken everywhere, bro.
everywhere.
And I'm talking about, I was suspicious because it's, if you can imagine what, oh, half a meter, half a meter is almost, I think maybe a foot and maybe a couple inches. So think about from your elbow to the tip of your finger. That's about how long the spikes were, and they would impale this chicken,
Yeah,
and it is literally, you literally had very little to hold on to the stick after they were done, you know, staking this chicken. So it's
it's
huge.
just big.
Bro, I'm pretty sure it's marabou stock, but
Yeah,
I
but
can't
also
tell.
you probably haven't seen like a broiled like chicken, like this chicken that was from like those kind of poultry that are big like that.
Bro, I'm talking about from, so that everyone understands what I'm talking about. From your elbow, from your elbow to the tip of your finger. That's how long they stretch this chicken leg and wing of this bird.
Wow.
And in some cases, it was just a drumstick and just a wing.
Hmm.
So they were obvious. Bro, I hadn't seen chicken that big not until I got here.
Right, right, right.
Here is where you actually find
Yeah.
a regular sized fist sized chicken.
Well,
That's normal here.
yeah, for like people, for anyone that is like either no doesn't live in America, chicken here was so crazy because my mom come last year from Nigeria for the first time. She couldn't eat the chicken.
Bro, them drumsticks are
I
huge.
couldn't convince her that it's chicken. She's like, no, it doesn't look right.
The drumsticks are huge, bro. I'm talking huge. A lot of things were just, they stood out.
Is it
The
just because of
chicken bit definitely stands out.
because the first time you see something that big, probably?
It was, I'd never seen anything like
Okay.
it. You know, I lived in Kenya, and they, over there in Swahili, nyama choma is, roast meat for the most part, grilled meat, barbecue. The way most people would understand it, it's barbecue. So to come across something like this I'd never seen before, oh, definitely, I was gonna remember that trip.
So what were you guys going to Uganda to do?
So that was essentially my orientation day, my first day of boarding school.
And so your dad wanted you to go to school in Uganda. Why is that?
Well, I'm the first of six boys, and I don't have any sisters. When I was high school age, it made perfect sense to my military dad that boarding school made sense.
Kind of teach you
It
like the
was it,
ethics there.
no, not necessarily, bro. I'm telling you, I don't have any sisters. So the only woman for a long time in my life that I respected in regard to being, this relaxed kid, tame, I started a lot of fucking trouble. I got into a lot of shit. And the only person at that point who, held me back a little bit was my mother.
Right.
So not growing up with sisters, I don't know how it is with people who got sisters.
I don't either. I have
But
five boys.
you
So I
know
don't
what I
have
mean?
brothers. I can't relate.
Growing up, I didn't really think about the household like that.
Right.
If I could have gone somewhere for weeks just to go kick it with the homies and do whatever I wanted,
Right.
I would have probably done that and just come back, kiss my mama, and go
Just go
right
right
back
back.
outside.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But in so many ways, growing up in Kenya, we had to, for the most part, like I said, immigrant community. In this case, as an adult now, we were definitely an immigrant community.
Right.
Even though I never really saw myself as an immigrant or a refugee, because they don't really use immigrants. Immigrants is used for quote unquote, white people, because in respect to how many people that lived in Kenya, obviously there's a lot of people that come into the country, but it's the tone of so many things.
Well, that's an interesting point you made. Obvious there. I think it's the same thing like when either Ghanaians move to Nigeria. I don't see them as immigrants. I don't. I think it's like an African thing. Maybe it's because we're the same color. Maybe it's because we share the same culture, kind of, and tradition. I don't see them like as like I see them as like a foreigner, but I don't see them as an immigrant. I don't see them as like they don't belong
No,
in my country.
I don't think that that's really the case. As Africans, and this is a very general sense here, I think we don't outwardly use these terms as openly as people in the West,
Well, I
right?
don't think because we are not that worried about like our borders, like oh, like if someone Benin can come in. I mean, we have the. I mean, in Nigeria, I mean, West Africa, we have the Union of East West. It's as in ECOWAS. I forgot the full meaning, but it's a coming together of 16 countries that my passport is an ECOWAS passport,
Oh, right, right, right.
which means like
That's like the
16
East
countries
African
can,
community now.
yeah, we can move migrate easily. I don't need a passport to go to Ghana or whatever.
Right,
With my Nigerian passport,
right.
which I think, if you really think about it, probably affect how I see other Ghanaians because we have
Oh,
the same
definitely,
passport. We don't,
definitely.
we all have ECOWAS passport.
You see, then, and that's really curious because it's only now that the East African community has been wanting to make this community
Right,
a reality on paper
right,
with laws in
right.
real life.
I
You know
hope
what I
I
mean?
hope we can have at some point we have like one like one African passport. I mean for African citizens. For us though, I mean I think that will probably confuse some people that from the West that will go to Africa. That some people that think Africa is one country. I mean that's kind of their own stupidity.
Well,
But
well, that's the beauty about that is those are people that don't really matter.
right, they don't. I'm saying for us, I think it would be cool that if I want to move to, Kenya, I'm still going home because I think what that helps people for is when they migrate to other countries, they actually when it's especially like neighboring countries like from West Africa, like I said. Even though I was in Benin and Benin speaking French is the French speaking country, I didn't feel like I wasn't at home.
Right.
I just there's something I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know why, but I just didn't feel like I was still living. I feel like I was going to like from here going to Boston.
Okay, so actually, I'm see now we segue right back to what we're talking about
Right.
earlier. Why it was such.
I gotta get the mic closer. I want to make sure people can hear you, bro.
So going back to this idea of why living in Uganda was so profound for me is in Kenya, regardless of me being born there or not, people made it clear that, what I'm saying, you're South Sudanese.
Okay.
And this, for the most part, was my whole life. So it got to a place where I didn't really think about it. That's like us in Port Angeles when people would drop their windows.
Right.
So for the listeners here, this is an inside joke
Mm-hmm.
because
Only if you live in Palanges, you would know.
and small town America
Right.
across this nation, if you will. We had people would
Would take
drop a window, literally drive right by enough to slow down enough to drop a window, scream out nigga, pull up their window and drive off, skirting, making the
Right.
most noise. And it was it to this day it's still hella funny to me
Right.
because what was the point?
Well, so much for a dream for us.
You see,
So much
because
for a dream, right?
again, trying to tell people who don't really know our relationship here is I've known Zeke for a long time. We've man, we've been through
We've been
war
doing,
together. Now,
yeah.
you know what I'm
We've been
saying?
through it,
It's just
man.
it's like people who went and fought and came back and like, bro, you made it. And like, yeah, nigga, I made it.
It feel like we went to war and then we
Bro,
came back from war.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
for everyone to kind of hear why this is so, close to home or why it seems so funny is because, you know, as you guys know, Zeke's from Nigeria. I identify as Kenyan, even though my family's from South Sudan, and I am South Sudanese. It's so crazy that the first thing that comes out of my mouth without even me thinking about it is people asking like, where are you from?
Hmm.
Is not who are you?
Who are you, right?
Or where did you come? You know what I'm saying? The question doesn't really come off the same way.
Right. No.
It's like, oh, where you from? And that's the first thing that comes out of my mouth.
Right.
So in regard to going back to this whole Uganda business, in regard to going back to this Uganda business, is it was the first time that I had pretty much experienced change properly.
Is it like in a positive way?
Before that, living in Kenya as this obviously small community, we moved a lot. We moved a lot.
Yeah. And I want to
And
ask you, did you? I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, no,
Did
no.
you ever made it? Did you guys ever make trips to Sudan from Kenya?
Well, this is the thing. That's actually when the war was still going on. There was no South Sudan at the time.
There was no South Sudan.
There was a lot of fighting in
Can
the
you?
south.
Can you? And I'm gonna try and make sure I come back to what we were. What we were is still your
Oh no,
orientation in
we'll,
Uganda.
we'll be back.
But I
We'll
just
be
want to
back.
make a little segue about that because I don't know about that.
Oh, okay,
I'm
of
pretty
course.
sure people that
Okay,
are hearing
okay.
this
So
can
maybe
also
maybe a bit more context.
yeah. But look, just give me a little bit more
to
context about
explain
that.
to
Like, okay,
everyone.
I know you were in Kenya at the time, but from stories that were told to you either by your parents or from people
Oh,
in the
this
community.
understanding of this
Yeah.
other place that I came
So
from.
you're assuming that. Do you know if your parent moved out of South or out of Sudan at the time due to the civil war? That's number one question. Number
Right.
two was that number two question will be, were you guys able to ever make it back home during your stay in Kenya?
Okay, so to begin with, I was born in the late '80s.
Okay.
By then, the fighting was completely rampant, and I'm talking about, Call of Duty.
And you mean that this is civil war between
between
tribes?
between the very obviously black South and the Muslim North.
Wow. I didn't
This
know
is
that.
the schism that refused to have a remedy, right? So the crux of all of this is Sudan, once it was given back, for the historians in the room, once it was given back by the British, they gave all powers back to Khartoum. And Khartoum being the Muslim collective, and again, I'm not trying to I'm just trying to give a little backstory and a little context
From your
here.
own perspective, right?
Right. At least this is how I see things.
Right.
Um, the collective of Muslim leaders in the north wanted and expected the whole of Sudan to be
In Muslim
in
country.
their control, which for the ones in the room who don't understand, this means Sharia law, border to border, and
Which is kind of one of the things what's happening in Nigeria too with Boko Haram. It's what's they trying to. That's the whole idea behind some of the bombing in Nigeria. In my country, at least I say. Again, I don't know too much about it, but from what my understanding, that's what caused the ideal is to be like bombing churches and stuff like that. Is because they want Nigeria to be.
well, they
Under.
they want to be heard. If the government will give them a chance to be heard or not, we don't know.
We don't know that. Yeah.
Because they're still making demands by terrorizing people. So that's
Yeah. That's a good way.
That's
That's an interesting way to ask for you.
yeah, we're gonna leave that as is because
Yeah.
it's either we're gonna sit here or we're gonna start talking about Buhari as a
Yeah.
personal guy,
And then
you
it's
know,
go, it's gonna go
and
it's
this
gonna
is
go
gonna go
south.
somewhere else,
Yeah.
right? Um, so essentially, the schism of 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 Muslim rule and them completely, deciding on the whole country. And for people who don't remember, Sudan was the largest country in Africa for a while.
I remember seeing Sudan on the African map, and as a kid, I remember thinking like Sudan would be the most, like, should be at least the most richest country in Africa because of how large it is. Like if you see on the map,
Fascinating story.
and it's pretty crazy. And another well, is most Sudan the Sahara Desert? Is it most the desert in most of Sudan?
So, I guess from the Suez Canal all the way to pretty much three quarters, almost all of what is considered, North Sudan now is essentially, a desert and semi arid desert. It's really dry.
It's really dry. Huh?
It's really dry, right? Their whole lifeline is the Nile. Excuse me. But the South, where all the Christians and the animists and essentially everyone else who's considered, this term, Negroid, black, is where the war was about. And they
Okay.
fought for over 25 years.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, it's one of the longest.
That's one of the longest civil wars in the world.
Not necessarily, but ones that have lasted into the
Yeah,
modern age.
yeah. Yeah,
You know,
isn't that crazy that people don't know like there's still war, going on in some part of the
in
world.
certain parts of the world, it's not.
People
skipped
don't
a
even
beat.
think about it.
People are still fighting for their independence.
Yeah.
And for the people, and just to throw this out there for the listeners to go, look up for themselves. You need to go check out, West Papua. West Papua, for the most part, they can be considered the indigenous people of the Papuan Islands.
I've
There's
seen you.
so
I've seen you
many.
post a lot about that, and that one have to be its
You
own
know,
podcast because I have so much question, and I know you research about West Papua more than I have because I know you're always posting about them and all that.
so
Um,
for people who don't really know, they found there's a literal mountain of silver found in that area. The world's largest open pit mine is in that part of the world. So when people would talk about it, why do certain parts never see any difference or change? It's because they're literally sleeping on money.
oh no, yeah, and they will find the idiots at the top and will give money to them to keep them out shut, and they will just go back, doing. I mean, again, those are the
See,
topics that I want to talk more about because again, those are like there's so much to talk about on those ones because as a Nigerian, which I know we produce crude oil, and I know a lot of these big company like Shell and Chevron and all
oh
that
yes, and
have
this is
their
why this story. Sorry to
yeah.
cut you off
So
here. Is
yeah,
because we share the exact same story,
yeah,
without even really thinking about it until we
right.
just started talking. Because South Sudan, all the oil that was being produced in all of Sudan came from South Sudan. Their pipes go all the way into South Sudan now. That's how far the oil came from.
Hmm.
So for all the money that the country has been making on top of all of these sanctions, they've had crippling sanctions for decades, but they've been surviving off the oil. All the oil is in the southern part of the country, which is now its own country as we know it.
So when did South Sudan become a country?
2011.
Wow, I thought like that
So for
was a
most
long
people who
time
don't
ago.
really understand, South Sudan is the world's newest country.
Wow, I thought that was must be like in the 90s or something. I didn't know. It was
It's
2000.
funny now because I used to sit here and have this, this subtle resentment towards South Africans. Like, I can't believe you guys' independence was in '95.
Oh,
I had this,
Nigeria is 1960, bro.
bro. Listen, No, this is what's messed up about this
Hmm.
is the British gave up Sudan in 1956. Sudan as a whole was one of the first countries in all of Africa to gain its independence.
Hmm.
And they immediately, like, I don't know if it's their way of life that's antithetical to, but well, this is the thing though. It's probably going to ruffle feathers, but their religion is the reason we couldn't live together.
No, yeah,
Period.
it means it's. I mean, religion, either Christian or Islamic, are all the big
In this
is
case,
the beginnings of
it
most
is
of our
the
wars.
only thing that has changed over a couple thousand years.
Because we've always have like civil wars around, but it's never at the stage of this until like religion
Bro,
come
the
through.
country of Sudan survived colonialism.
Hmm.
Like, we as Africans don't really think about that. What does surviving colonialism actually mean? You came back out intact. They didn't cut you up some more,
Right.
separate you some more. But it turns out that even so, it's so easy for Westerners to come and point out our differences because they have their own perspective and
Perspective and
worldview.
idea. So if you have to sum it up, you think the war in South Sudan was religion based, right?
Definitely.
Okay. And now when we go back to what we are talking about before, which is also is it part of the reason why you couldn't go back to South Sudan during your stay in Kenya because
Well,
of that civil war was going on?
well, like I said, I was born in the late '80s, and the older I got, the more I realized, like, oh, okay, so a lot of the people that I knew didn't really come from Kenya.
Did
You
they
know,
actually from South Sudan?
it didn't really occur to me that we're not all Kenyans. When it finally dawned on me, the older I got, I was like, okay, started to look more and started to speak more. I had more, uncles, people who had survived the war, and now you start to notice a bit more. You stop. This veil of being Kenyan sort of vanishes.
Right.
Yeah. So essentially, like I said, this veil of being Kenyan sort of vanished really quickly, and you start to notice, okay, so this is who my dad is in the community. This is who my family is, where I come from. Now you start to completely understand, okay, we're obviously here because of a reason.
So what?
There's a raging war going on in South
So
Sudan,
what did
and
their
this.
dad do
Well, my dad's a soldier.
from
He's
South Sudan for Sudan or for Kenya?
interesting and complicated story altogether. Is when the consecutive governments that had been there right after 1956, they had tried to make it very hard. Before we got to that point of fighting, people really realized really quickly that it didn't really take very much for all the injustices that had gotten to that place to where fighting was inevitable. Before they got there, there were less and less political representation. There was less and less, you know, societal interactions with that part, the whole section of the country,
With that south part, right?
literally, and that's where all the wealth was coming from. There was
The
no
oil.
development
That's
in
where.
that
Yeah.
in that regard. So when you think about representation and you think about all these people that at this point, you got to think about how forward the country of Sudan was throughout its whole entirety. They've always, had this rich history as Sudan,
Right.
but none of it showed in the South.
Hmm.
Even the country that we have now, there's no real infrastructure.
The
Y-
South Sudan.
Yes, there's really there are some roads, but to
Is that
think of development as anything,
so? Is that because of corruption, or is that just because of like the
I
main
mean,
South?
in the beginning, it was entirely because of neglect. They didn't care to spend any of those communal dollars in air quotes to go right back into developing essentially where all the money was coming from.
And so, what does your how does your what your dad did kind of ties into what you were explaining?
My family played a very critical. When I say my family, I'm speaking entirely about my grandfather in this case. He was one of the few politicians who came from the South and was in some of the governments that were up in the North. He was an intellectual, you know, a politician in all of his rights. But in trying to fight for the rights of the Southerners, him and so many other people failed endlessly. So for it to have gotten to a place where the first, and they call it the Anyanya movement, that was essentially the very first group of people that went into the bush to go and fight the Arabs, because essentially, we call them Arabs because they don't see us as the same as them.
Hmm.
Because to them, we are infidels.
Yeah, yeah. That's the same way with the Boko Haram in Nigeria too. They believe that people that embrace the Western teachings are, which is also interesting too. Like that, that terms also in Jehovah's Witness, right? So we, because I was with Jehovah's Witness, and people that don't believe in our way of teachings, we call them non-believers. I mean, Christianity have that too, right? Non-believers in Christ, but they
Oh yeah.
just don't go out and try,
What, chop
yeah,
hands
chop
and heads off?
and blow them off. If they don't follow them, or they don't believe in their way of religion. But all right. So your grandfather was one of the first one that went into that war, and
No,
then
no, not necessarily go into the war. In this case, you have to kind of think about, what this is where now you essentially start thinking about the movement of the Sudanese People's Liberation Movement. And this is where you get, this group of people who essentially came about and they felt the need to fight for their rights because they realized that there was never going to be an inclusion into the table that was Sudan as a whole.
okay,
Nothing was happening in their respective areas. Nothing,
nothing.
right? And in the present now, we understand all of the wealth, everything. And people don't really understand that, Sudan only has been able to only have oil since its inception in 1956.
So there's nothing else that is
There's not really anything else.
okay.
The
So
South is very green. The South is not dry. The South, I can compare it to probably even the same place where the oil comes from in Nigeria. How wet it is over
yeah,
there.
Niger Delta, yeah.
Yeah, that's literally South Sudan.
So
The Nile splits over there.
wow. So it's definitely a wet area. It's all good. No worries. Definitely a wet area. So questions though. So what is that? Was that military in Sudan, or was that military in South Sudan that your dad was part of, or is it something you can share? I don't know if that's something.
Well, to kind of just, again, we're kind of talking about a little bit of backstory here to
Right.
kind of, give people
Paint
a
the
pretty
picture,
good
right?
idea without pointing in direction
Right.
into the dark
That's what
for
I'm saying.
people who don't really know. The Sudanese People's Liberation Movement, again, like I said, is the vehicle that people who felt the need to do something about their current situation.
And is that from
went
the
up to
south,
fight.
or is that from the
That's
whole Sudan?
entirely from the
From,
South.
that's entirely from the
Yeah,
south. But
entirely
he was
from the
trying
South.
to lead through the country, basically.
So the liberation movement came after the first, in this case, you got to realize people were fighting for what was supposed to be, independence, but it was people hadn't agreed exactly up until there's a lot of the movement itself had so many ups and downs, and a lot of people were assassinated. They literally so essentially there were some people that believed that that South Sudanese should fight for their rights. Well, everyone believed in that, but some people believed that we should remain a part of Sudan, and others did not.
Okay.
That is where you had not only just a difference in ideals, but some people literally took a side and others were left out in the dark.
Okay. So what did your pops fit in this?
My grandfather was one of the first people to be part of the political wing of the liberation movement, because the majority of these people were soldiers who were turned
Right.
into rebels
Into
in
rebels,
this case, right? And South Sudan's civil war can only be described as guerrilla warfare in all of its ways. These were a group of people essentially fighting, a government that was far more superior
Than them.
to
Right.
them, and they had no problems indiscriminately bombing
Anybody.
everything and everyone.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy.
So
It's crazy.
it's so hard to imagine that, in 2009 is when it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy that I was actually able to see the signing. I was actually there when South Sudan became a country.
You were back in South Sudan?
It was done in Kenya.
It was done in Kenya?
It was actually done in Kenya because they needed a neutral place. They needed a neutral place to sign in all of, the first president, the second president.
How
so
close is
on.
Kenya to Sudan?
South Sudan is bordered in the east by Ethiopia, to the southeast by Kenya, to the south by Uganda, and DRC to the west.
Congo, right?
Yeah.
But without
And Chad, I guess, northwest. And the north is obviously Sudan.
and that's interesting. But Kenya is probably the most developed around all the countries, right?
That's an interesting question because by the 70s, Kampala was probably the nicest place in East Africa.
Yeah, Kampala was very popular.
Kampala was beautiful back then.
Kampala was very popular. Sure. So, all right. So, thank you for explaining what your grandfather did, and then, so is that the same movement that your dad was part of? Or
So after essentially my dad, and again you gotta realize it's kind of weird here because his dad was just murdered, and
Wow.
it was done
with
by
during the war?
oh yeah by his own people, my grandfather and six other people were murdered in the same night by again I keep telling you there are these people who believed that we couldn't function as a country by ourselves, and the people who felt like if we are going to do this, we're going to do this so that they include us in their table, or whatever the hell it was, this proverbial table that was Sudan, right?
That's just crazy.
Scratch my face, but just weirdly to think about things like that, it's like now you understand how long it took because there was
There's so many internal conflicts going on.
And for people to hear that South Sudan is the world's newest country, I think it may come to as a shock to a lot of people. But
I mean, it's a shock to me, and I think this is very interesting because this is one of the reasons why, I want to do this is because I wanna learn. Because every time we talk, Nigeria is probably one of those popular, like culture that has been like globalized. Nollywood has been globalized in Africa, so people, yeah, Nigeria,
what you mean?
people kind of know like a little bit about us, but that's a problem. It's like we don't know a lot about anybody else. I know Nigeria's a big country, but we don't know a lot about anybody else. And
But again, this is another podcast for later on.
yeah,
But a majority of the people in the Americas, and I'm talking the whole Americans, don't realize that it's Igbo culture that they're out here emulating.
He said, "Yeah,
So for all the naysayers, get out of here with that. Get out of here. But anyway, that's neither here
oh, there,
nor
right."
there. Right. So without
And
getting
then
too
guess what?
wild.
Guess what?
but
Yoruba will say is their culture. You know that Yoruba, there's Yoruba culture back in Brazil, and there's a Ogunde in Brazil.
oh yeah,
Ogunde.
for
So,
sure. I've in Brazil, yeah,
yeah,
that's
you know,
clear.
but
Yeah.
I think we talk about this too. In the last culture, where we're talking about, like, you know, because my friend from uh previous podcast ago is from Haiti, and he was talking about, you know, living in DR, in DC, in the Dominican Republic, and how, you know, they don't see themselves as
Oh
black
yeah,
people.
listen.
And
I used to be
and you know that.
listen, my skinny ass used to be a bouncer at a Spanish club. I know all about that.
Yeah, and I was, you know, I was very.
Dominicana Republic.
Yeah, he was very
I know
funny.
black. I know black.
No, they
I
were.
know black.
He was saying like they're very offended. So again, I just think there's so much information out there, and I think, you know, the whole goal is for, you know, to educate people that thinks they know things. Because me as an African, even Africans can learn, Americans can learn, and also people that are back home can also see from our stories and, you know, understand, you know, that migrating to another country, you know, I want to share the truth of what that experience is like, because I think a lot of people make. I understand the, without being naive and you know, trying to fantasize what, you know, being back home is like, because I know life is rough back home. You know, it's challenging. You know, it's a very challenging and harsh place with very little opportunities to excel and to kind of, like, you know, upgrade your life.
But I want to challenge that ideal.
Yeah, well, again, I know you will.
This is why.
I knew.
This is
Well,
why.
but I'm saying, what I was trying to finish is that I also think the reality of being living here is not shared enough. I don't think, like, people really, and I'm saying this to Africans, understand what it's really entails living in America, like the day to day, or even London or whatever, Australia, whatever.
I got a
New Zealand.
disclaimer though.
Yeah.
Y'all don't gotta come out here.
They can stay back
Ain't
home.
shit here for you, bro.
And if it's for you, there's so much. You don't know if you're gonna be willing to pay the price.
No,
For
this is
the
the
things
thing
that you
though.
want.
Only an African can be gangster enough to come out here and block out the fucking sun, do what you need to do, and go back home.
Only us would do that.
All green card up,
Yep.
you know. But that again, you know, the reason I keep telling people, like, the reason I wouldn't recommend this. Granted, you come out here, you make the money, you know, you work really hard, you will learn a couple things here and there. Honestly, take it from somebody who's been here. I've been here all of 15 years. No kids, never married. Most of what I do is work.
That's what you do. My mom told me she says she came here last year. My mom, I've not seen my mom in 10 years. She came to America last year, for 2 months, and she was so surprised. People were so surprised, like my in-laws, they're white Americans, and they'll ask her if she want to stay. She said no. You know, me and her will have conversation. She says, "You work to plan fun." She said, "We live in, like," she just see me work all the time, and she said, like, "I'm actually worried for you because you can't really go to someone's house without planning anything." She said, "You just work all the time, and you can't even feel free, like, okay, I want to do that. You have to plan everything."
Bruh.
She's like, you know, and it was like I had to, like, sit back and really think about that. I was like,
Bruh,
yeah, that's really
this
crazy.
is the only place in the world where burglaries are a problem. Like, somebody broke into your house because you were not fucking there and stole your shit. You ever thought about that?
That's crazy.
It's a fucking pandemic out here of burglars. Cat burglars. I gotta put on a fucking ski mask, cover his face, and come ransack your fucking house because you're not there.
Because you're never home.
You're
right?
never fucking home.
You know, even when you get a car, I remember, like, I was trying to get a car a few years ago, and one of the people at my work that was like, she was a chief executive owner or something like that, and I was talking about cars, and it's just like, well, she's like, well, don't forget that when you buy your car, you drive it to work, and you park it there, and I never forget that.
Oh, bro.
It's just like you're not gonna really drive your car that much, so
Bro,
make sure you
I
wake up that
left
way.
Africa excited about so many things, only to come out here and watch them die.
What? We're gonna get to that. Let's go. let's go. Let's go back to so let's go back to like your dad. You're sharing the story about how your dad, had to see his pops murdered.
And,
And
and this is the other thing, right? You got to realize this is something that went on for over 25 years. This, my little tiny story of my family, I cannot imagine there's a single family in South Sudan that did not
experience that.
experience this.
Wow.
There's not a single one. So much so that there are people out there who went through even worse. Like literally out of nowhere, people started shooting and murdering everyone on sight. All you could do is run with your bro. All you had on.
Wow.
If you can imagine the worst fucking slave movie, bro, that's the shit that was going on in South Sudan.
So did your dad also fought for that same movement?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's really curious because after his father was murdered, it wasn't safe for him. He had an
He
attempt
had
on
to
his
leave.
life. Oh yeah, of course.
So they have so they had an attempt on his life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then he migrated to Kenya to find a place for his family to raise.
I mean, at the time, what's interesting is this whole time, yeah, he had been part of the military and so on and so forth, but my dad was actually living with us in Kenya. You gotta remember, I was born and raised in Kenya. Me and my brothers were born and raised in Kenya.
So interesting. So again, and then let's go back to the first day of school in Uganda. So
So yeah, so you can imagine my 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 very stoic dad, all military like, and it's kind of funny because I've never most people that come meet my dad first time they're somewhat intimidated by his presence, and I've seen it my whole life, but I don't know, bro. Like I said, I've been a troublemaker my whole life. My dad never really scared me.
right.
I was more scared of my mom's ass whoopings than my
That
dad.
yeah, me too, bro.
You know what I'm talking
My
about?
mom
That
has
lady know what she
whoopings.
doing.
Yeah,
Bro.
yep.
She hit you over your head.
Yep.
Don't matter.
It's like it's instant. Mom's judgment is instant. It's not planned.
Yo, that shit hurt more. It hurt more.
you know, you're not expecting it, bro.
You know what I
It's
mean?
judgment day right now.
Because him I could figure out. No
Right.
problem,
Right.
But speaking of figuring them out, my first day out there, bro, we get out there and my dad, he always embarrasses me, bro. So it's so crazy. I think I even remember who it was. I think it must have been Stella and David. I think he randomly met some people over there. Like, yeah, it's my son's first day. I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
You as a
Like,
kid,
my
but you're
son's,
like,
his first
riding
day,
me
shit,
out.
he came out here, brought us, and he bounced. I meet some people over there. Those three people, I think, is what I might have the story a little backwards, but I remember meeting three people that I didn't come with.
Immediately.
Right there at the school, there was this dude named David Malera. They called the dude Live Wire, cause he really, bro. This is what's crazy. I'm a hothead. He's a fucking hothead, bro.
Right.
And we meet first fucking day
First
of
day.
school.
It's
Bro.
universe, bro.
So he tries to punk me, right? So he kind of comes over, like, so he looks at us, kind of me, my bro, and a couple of my cousins and guys and shit. He looks at us like, yeah, so what's up? And like, any y'all niggas smoke cigarettes? The guys are looking on like, nah, nigga, first date? Nah, bro,
Yep.
I'm good. I'm
We're
good.
chill-
I'm
we're
good.
chilling, man.
I looked up, man. I saw me two chicks. I was like, yeah, bro, I smoke cigarette.
So your boarding school is mixed.
Oh yeah, we have mixed.
Oh.
And he was. Bro, you think I went to an old boys
Oh,
house?
no,
Man, you crazy. You
I think went to old boys,
crazy,
bro.
man. Yo, that was the best time of my life. I got to sit there and tell you I went to old boys. Man,
Dude.
man, I would have got chucked the first day, bro.
And now let me tell you this. Actually, that was my biggest fear growing up. My dad used to like use that to threaten me. Or
I'd
like
take your ass to boarding
all
school.
boys boarding school. That was like my
Bruh.
fear.
Bro, this
Like,
is,
I would. I
this is
don't.
a
I
friend
do
of
not
ours. Fuck it, this is Dan. Dan went to. That's why He's just,
Oh, Dan. No,
yeah.
but you know what I'm saying, though, you see,
It
Dan
explains.
Dan has been military since we know him, right?
Bro, he's
He's
been like
very-
that since before
You know-
we started going to school, dog.
He's straight
Yo,
up just like
yeah, this makes sense for
business,
him.
because it's routine.
This routine.
Ah,
And the old boys, school in Africa, y'all wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
Dan is used to that, bro.
If you play any sports, you will practice before class. 7:05 class starts and ends at 5 o'clock. So all you young bucks out here, go to school half a day.
No, I remember Dan used to say. I think he was telling me stories about that, about how, I think at PC, I'm always like struggling doing my assignment, and then Dan had no pity. He's just like,
Nah, bro.
it's like, what are you doing to yourself, man? That's why he texts me. He's like,
And he just dude.
yeah, what are you doing? He's like, yo, just sit down and do your work. And it's kind of interesting you said that he has that down for going to all boys school. So anyway, so your first day of school, you were in Uganda. You went to Uganda for 6 years, right?
Yeah, I was out there for because this is the other thing. I went to an international school, and in Uganda they have we're all British subjects, I guess.
What do you met there that you end up meeting Parangelis from that school? You met anybody there?
Hell yeah!
That is crazy.
Actually, Armel,
I don't know him though.
you should know Armel.
I don't know him. I don't think I was here then. I was not
He
here.
must have left the year he came.
Wow.
Armel knows my little brother, and I say little. We're only a year apart. The year I left is the year he came. He knows my brother
Wow.
well, dog.
What a war that is.
And that's not even a half of it.
Okay, so I mean, again, like I think because of how long you were there, you have so much stories, and maybe again, that's why I said we're gonna have subsequent-
fine. So just maybe I can skim off the top really quickly. So I meet Livewire, and the two girls. He asked me if I could smoke a cigarette, and I'm like, hell yeah, I can smoke a cigarette.
Right.
So he pulls one out. He hands me one. I grab it, and obviously, bruh, at this point, my mom beat my ass. I was about 6 or 7. The neighbor caught me smoking a cigarette.
Right.
Told my mom. My mom bought a whole pack. Left me in a room. Went and fucking laced out good, couple belts. Tied them bitches together. Like, yeah, smoke the whole fucking pack. I'll be back. So she leaves. Bro, I smoked half the pack.
And to like kind of paint a little picture, when someone smokes cigarette back in Africa during our generation, it's like you were like doing coke. It's like the level of like,
Bro, like
how
they
much of
say
a
out there, he
gangster?
do heroin.
yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, I
Bro,
remember like
it's hardcore to
Bro,
smoke cigarettes, especially for anyone.
anyone. I remember like my friend, I think it was Benga, which you're gonna meet during the wedding. We grew up from home, like literally our house was like next to each other, and I remember like the day I saw him smoke, bro. That guy should have. It's equivalent of like someone driving a Tesla right now.
No, real shit.
Bro,
like you, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just trying to make sure that I give you your flowers so they can understand how
flowers.
gangsta- I understand how gangsta that
Flowers,
was.
bro. I was already a veteran of smoking, bro. Shit, my mom. Listen, she came back and was horrified that I smoked half the pack. She thought maybe I didn't smoke. She grabbed my face, bro. Smelled my mouth. Bro.
But also too, you smoked that after she left it?
Yeah, bro, she
you-
told
you-
me shit.
yeah.
I was about to get an ass whooping.
Yeah, so you know it's coming anyways.
No, you think, listen, she gave me an ultimatum, bro. Smoke them bitches and wait. Bro, I smoked them bitches
But
like she said.
but she threatened you. She's threatening to see your reaction.
You think I knew that was a threat? The neighbor already snitched. I'm going to die anyway, dog.
She already know, but you should have not
Anything she say, I'm fucking doing.
But
Bro, I did, yo.
I'm just
Man,
letting
I
you
sat
know.
there and thought about it. I was like, bro, if I'm finna die anyway, fuck
Let me
it, nigga.
just smoke it. Yeah.
Bro, and the worst thing is I smoked them bitches in the room she left me in. I
Yeah.
didn't even go outside or nothing.
She's
She
not
walked
looking
in the
at.
house
She's
and
not
smelled
looking at
like
you the same.
cigarettes.
She's not looking at you the
She
same.
wanted
after
to
that.
kill me, dog.
She's not looking at you the same.
mom wanted to kill me, bro.
Mm.
So now, going back to this story,
Mm.
I get over here. They hand me a cigarette, bro. I'm smoking. I already know how to smoke cigarettes, homeboy.
Right.
And I was a freshman.
Right.
This is a guy who was a year older than me, so he was a sophomore, and these two chicks I think were seniors, I think. So the A levels, this British subject comment from earlier, they have this A levels, which after 4 years of high school you get 2 extra years. So
Okay.
like JUCO, junior college over here,
Right.
is attached to high school in Africa
Okay.
with the British system.
Okay.
So
I
you
think they
do
call
your-
it polytechnic. Well, I don't think we have the same system in Nigeria. Keep going.
True. But the polytechnics you're talking about,
Mhm.
they're trying to compare that to the A levels,
Okay.
because once you're done with your A levels, you go straight into your second year in university. There's no freshman or a gap year. There's none of that stuff.
Right.
So straight from high school, you do the 2 years, still in the same school. You get your A levels. Those A levels transfer directly into your second year at university.
Okay.
So you get your bachelor's after your A levels in 2 years.
Okay. And that's how polytechnic kind of works. Too.
Yeah. So it's like the polytechnic
Yeah.
and the junior college over here.
Yeah.
You know, it's just to be able to prepare you
Prepare for yeah.
for those
Big
sophomore
classes, yeah.
Precisely. So the first time that essentially I heard about the States was about this cousin of mine who had actually gone because of resettlement. Again, we're talking about refugee resettlements with the UNHCR because of the fighting in South Sudan. This is how you have Sudanese all over the world. This is because of the refugee resettlement process. Resettlement process, yeah.
Developed countries kind of like helping people resettle from their culture.
So they have quotas.
Asylum kind of.
Yes, it's pretty much that. Because
do you have to give up your country though?
no. See, when you're classified a refugee, you are in need.
Okay.
So all of those things are going to be provided for. Your basic needs are going to be provided for by the host country.
Okay.
Including up until you're able to take care of yourself. So they'll provide a work permit. They'll provide you a place to stay. They'll provide you with work options and all of these things, so that you'll keep getting a support of a couple $100 every month for 3 years. And once you're on your feet, they take those resources and give it to somebody else.
Do you get green card or?
Well, obviously, the thing is, again, we were talking about adjustment of status. Remember?
Oh, okay.
That's essentially the piece of paperwork that has to go with every single thing else
so
in immigration.
Your cousin, you heard?
So
you
he comes back. He comes back
from US.
From US, bro.
What
He
did
comes
buy you?
back.
What did he buy you anything?
No, but this is the thing though. I don't even remember him bringing. Yeah, I think he may have. But the thing is, right? All I could remember was this guy came back and he had brand new basketball shoes. It's the only thing I remember different
That was
about
enough.
it. That was it. You got to realize, I mean, up until this point, I'd been wearing secondhand shoes
All your life.
my whole life. I couldn't get my head wrapped around the fact that he had brand new kicks. So again, going back to this idea that I'm completely flabbergasted by somebody playing with shoes
Brand
that
new
I've
shoes.
only seen in magazines that were hanging up on my wall. So crazy, actually, because I remember he was wearing Kevin Garnett's, bro.
So maybe that even where you like coming Ghana, you might be. I mean, the
Bro,
first exposure is always.
It's so crazy, full circle, actually.
So did you ask him about like what he did or?
You gotta realize, I'm such a young kid by now. I'm maybe 14, 15 maybe, and
Bless you.
excuse me. Remember, this is a school that has, it's a high school and a junior college connected. This guy's coming back after finishing all of that. I'm a kid compared to everyone else he's interacting with, right?
Right.
Yeah, he acknowledged, okay, South Sudanese kid, but by the time he was there and left, I wasn't. So he's coming back, and I'm literally watching this guy from afar. And this was the first time I had ever seen this many people, treat a South Sudanese
with a different
differently
respect,
than what I'd been used to.
which
Yeah,
matters a
granted,
lot.
there's a whole bunch of older people here and there, but this uncle status is given to anyone, anywhere. If you want to need something, uncle. You know what I mean? But it had never had it, because I'd seen cops, even the cops acted a certain type of way. But to get to a place where I'm seeing this guy and this guy's being celebrated, bro. He's being celebrated like he done did
And then
he
we
done
talk
did accomplishments,
talking about a long time ago too. Like there's not a lot of people that have been
bro.
back.
Actually, now that I remember, he was my cousin, Morhum. Rest in peace, because he was shot out here. Actually,
Wow.
yeah, and that's the other thing. So many South Sudanese get murdered out here by police simply because somebody threatened somebody with a knife or something like that. You know, again, you're talking about a whole country that identifies as warriors for the most part.
So he doesn't
Their
really know how
entire
to
culture.
conform.
Yeah, there's no way you can sit here and just talk with your mouth. Bro, by the time I was 14, 15, and 16, bro, I'd been in so many fucking fights.
So like, did you think like America is not really like ready for that
America
cultural
does
changes?
not know how to deal with Somali kids, South Sudanese kids, Samoan kids, most of these kids from the islands.
Because the environment is so different, and it's like you almost have to kind of like engage them differently because
Listen, I done met out here in Seattle. I done met so many Somali cats, and it's so easy for them to become part of a gang because where they come from, if you don't belong, you're in trouble.
right. Well, you don't get that culture. You don't get the respect from your parents.
Don't
You don't.
forget about respect. I'm talking about in their country with how it's so sectarian that everyone is part of something. Out here, they need to be part of a group.
And the problem with it is because those like poor countries, like very poor countries, no offense, are actually the one that's also hardest for people to come here, and then everything is all of a sudden like good, and and you don't
No,
feel needed anymore.
listen, you can't. There's just listen. I come from this school of thought where, again, if you're gonna help somebody, and this applies to everything, you go all the way. You
Right.
don't half-ass this shit.
Right.
A lot of these families, you know exactly they came from hard situations, but you don't offer any remedies. You just tell them we're gonna give you a check and make sure your bills are paid.
Good. Now, yeah,
There should be a therapist
someone.
that knows that entire family well enough to tell you this environment they're in right now, it's not working out.
It's always at least.
Bro, it took me until I was a grown up to understand that, me, I may be a little dyslexic.
Tell me about it.
Bro,
My house.
bro, I struggled.
I struggle in school too, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, we were just talking about it. I tell you, like part of the reason why I'm very close to. I find a way to kind of like be harsh on myself for degree, to get close to my degree. And right now I'm like less than a year to finish my public health degree. But honestly, like I had to stop because school is so hard for me. Which again, I'm not gonna quit, but school is so hard for me, and I just can't. I can learn anything from sitting down with people, conversing, or if like things that pique my interest. Like for example, the podcast or shooting video. I'm a trial and error person. I don't give up. But school and I don't know what that's called, but I have test anxiety. Like I just don't know. I mean, it took me and my wife taking the same class for me to figure this out, because we would take the same class, and at home I'll be telling her everything about what we were studying, because it was anatomy and physiology, which is part of fitness, so I really like it. And then we go home, we get to the exam class, and I will fail on them, and then she'll be like, that, like what happened? I'm like, honestly, when I'm reading the questions, I just read through them so quick, like I just want it to be done. Like I just don't feel comfortable taking tests. and I started paying attention to myself, and I see like, oh, it's like I sabotage myself like a test, and it makes sense to why I did ASVERB 4 times to get 50. Like, I mean, I've long story short, like people that are in America, I only have to get 22, and the 50 I was gonna get, I didn't get it. Like I got 20, I got 42, I got 44, I got 49, and I got 50.
No, look at
Imagine that.
that. It kept getting better.
It just keep getting better. So like, but it's crazy that I mean, it ended up being a really good story for me. But anyway, I don't want to take back out of your story.
No, not
let,
at all.
let me get back to what we were talking about.
No,
So
so I guess the story was back with this whole basketball thing.
yeah,
The fascinating story is I had my best athletic years in that school. I was on the soccer team, on the volleyball team, on the basketball team, on the rugby team, and I was cross country champion in that school. I had never lost to anyone. Mind you, I smoke weed, nobody knows, and I smoke cigarettes, and we jump the fence.
so you still have time to still be crazy.
Well, I just couldn't understand how all these guys, you know what I'm saying, you'd go get fucked up, party, do all this shit, and your life, doesn't continue the next day. You sleep until 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I don't know how people do that.
You know what I mean? So it was never really that for me. I got into a routine where if I'm gonna get up in the morning, I'm always gonna run every single morning. Come rain or come shine, I'm gonna go out jogging and running. So whenever they brought this cross country running thing where it's like inter house sports, oh bro,
You just smoke it.
I worked my ass off until I became the fastest motherfucker in 100 meters.
Wow.
I worked my ass off until I won that fucking race, bro.
So, did you have to apply for PC or Peninsula College, or did you get scouted?
So, interesting story is there was, again, I keep saying it, we got into a lot of trouble. And it's funny because the guy that I knew from high school actually lives out here in Seattle, and he's still pissed off about this story I'm about to tell. It's been over 20 years.
Yeah,
it's kind of stupid.
You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go.
So there was this guy, he had a little brother, and his little brother, we fucked with him super tough, In school, you gotta stick together once shit gets
Get
scarce.
rowdy. Yep.
No, not rowdy, scarce. When you're out of money, and
Out of
no one
food.
can get any food, you gotta
Dude,
stick together.
I steal people's lunch, bro.
Bruh. So this guy's older brother would literally, when everyone's completely out of food, nobody got nothing. You just got sugar, bro, and toothpaste in your box. This guy has a box full of cookies, biscuits, all that shit. This guy was so stingy, he'd take that box home. Nobody liked him.
Nobody will.
After a while there, we didn't really fight. We didn't like. Later on, we became pretty cool, but we didn't like him because, bruh, you can't even hook your little brother up.
Why?
His little brother gotta go ask his big sister.
Oh, come on.
Like, yo, man, I'm out of sugar, guy.
Yeah.
And your big bro is over here, box full of all kinds of stuff, and he never misses a meal. That nigga. He got all this food over here, nigga. He's always... So, he left his phone somewhere, and somebody snatched that bitch.
Someone gay at some point.
Let me just keep it all the way 100. Nobody liked his ass.
Yeah.
You a stingy ass nigga. This is a boarding school. Stingy is like a
No.
snitch.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody's
That's
struggling.
the worst of the worst.
Well, I mean, I went
You
to
know?
public school too. Like, that's the worst thing. Like, I steal people's food, but when I have food, I share.
No, but the
You
thing is, when somebody comes to ask, you don't fucking say no. This guy said no to everyone,
Everybody.
including his little bro. So when somebody stole his phone, guys were like, "That's what the fuck you get." Somebody came and tapped me like, "Yo, dog, I got this phone. Can you keep it for me?" I knew what was up. I knew
Yeah,
it was a
yep.
stolen phone.
Yeah.
I took that bitch, stuck that motherfucker in sugar, and poured it right back. They kept opening everybody's boxes. Somehow, he came and I guess I don't even know how he found out. but he knew that
Someone
it
snitched
was
too.
in our dorm.
Right.
Because somebody said so. Somebody saw that guy come into this dorm, but that guy was not the one that stole his phone. Other groups of people stole his shit. They gave it to that nigga.
That guy
gave it to me. So he doesn't know who took
exactly.
his phone, right? And I'm sitting here. I didn't think anything of it. Like, cause again, I'm gonna keep it all the way 100. I didn't really think it was a big deal because phones get stolen in Kenya all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was justified to me because fuck yeah, I don't like this nigga, bro.
Right.
This nigga is stingy.
Right.
Like, why?
Why? We all broke. Why you stingy,
You know what I mean? You can't be the only one out here not suffering, bro. You can't be the only one you're not suffering. So I took the shit, put it in sugar, poured that bitch in, and I refused to talk. They found the phone on me. I refused to snitch. I got expelled. I refused to snitch.
Wow, you get expelled from that school?
I got expelled from that school.
Wow, yeah.
After previously getting expelled 3 times. I got into a fight, hurt some kid pretty bad. The second time, I think we got caught for jumping the fence or something stupid like that. I don't remember. But that school, they had sent me home too many times.
Okay,
so refusing to snitch, one guy wanted to start a mob justice. He wanted to convince other guys to beat me up because he had a lot of his shit stolen.
Now there's a culprit. Let's get him in trouble.
Bro, he wanted to take all his frustrations out on me. So he was like out here pushing me and shit like, motherfucker, it's you, motherfucker, you guys. I'm like, bro, you better stop fucking touching me, dog. You know what I mean? But looking back on that little story, that was actually how I ended up leaving that school.
Like that string of incident.
I had been expelled.
But started making you thinking of other opportunities, right?
No, not even. Like, the school was tired of me, bro.
But I'm just saying, but that situation though, because if you've been good there and happy there and you didn't cause trouble,
no,
okay?
I had always caused trouble.
But I'm saying if you haven't, you probably won't be start thinking about what's my next move. Maybe
bro,
I need
you
to
gotta
try.
realize I didn't think about anything else. I still had 3 years to go at that school.
Wow.
I paid double tuition and came back as a day student after being expelled. So there was a lot of motherfuckers who didn't like me. But I never snitched to this day. Never snitched. So a lot of people didn't like the fact that so the principal sat there and my dad was like, "What do you mean my son is not the one that stole the phone, but you're expelling him?" Well, like, you refuse to talk. Now, mind you, this was the only other time me and my dad sat on a trip. We were on a trip together. The first day he brought me here, and an expulsion back home.
Did it beat you or anything?
Listen, my dad was used to whooping my ass every single day. He was told your son stole something. He didn't say a word to me, bro.
He's probably like, yeah.
The whole way back, we was 2 weeks before they even knew what had happened. After 2 weeks in, the principal calls my dad back and he was like, "We made a mistake. Yes,
right.
your son seems to be involved in this theft, but he's not the one that stole the shit."
How did that story map with how you started thinking about leaving? I want to connect the stories. Like, how does that start to make you think of leaving Uganda, or at least to start coming to America?
So, with what that whole story kind of entails here, it was kind of the very end, because once I was done when I got to the 12th grade. After I got to the 13th grade there, I came back, paid double tuition, because this is the only school, you gotta understand, there's only 2 schools in all of East Africa for the most part that will take you after an expulsion.
Wow.
Our school was one of them.
Wow.
So talking about troublemakers,
You have no
I wasn't the only one.
And you have
there was a school full of troublemakers,
but you have
including
less options.
girls.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, I had fun, bro.
This
Oh my God. Bro, what?
guy's
Anyway, I had no intentions of leaving that school.
right.
No intentions.
Of course, you're having fun, bro.
whatsoever. But that expulsion got it to a point where, the school was like, "Listen, yo, Yo, kid don't give a fuck, man. Like, you keep getting in trouble like this,
Right.
you guys are gonna keep have to be paying,
Double
double
tuition.
tuition. That year, bro, I didn't care about school at all. So I sort of failed my classes, and they were like, "Yo, you gotta repeat your classes, bro. You didn't do very well this year." Because I got expelled that year. I just school was not really.
It's not
I
really
wasn't thinking about no damn exams anyway. I didn't go home to go study. They waited 2 weeks and told my dad, "Oh, your son, refused to snitch, and we understand that he didn't take anything, but he got to be a day student." So I stopped being a boarding student, and I'm now a day student.
you have to rent a house.
No, one of my dad's friends was a Ugandan guy. Actually, gave me ass. He beat me that day, which was hilarious, cause it's like Andy trying to beat my ass. He swung as hard as he could. He tried. Poor guy. He really tried to discipline me. It didn't work though. But I became a day student, and that's when I started to realize, like, oh shit, Kampala is actually a really fun place to be.
Okay.
Now I don't have to care because all I need to do is just leave the house, go party
Go
all
party.
night, come back on Monday.
Right. So you don't have to. There's no
Bro,
burden.
they thought they were punishing me.
But
They
they
would
just-
just keep giving me presents, bro. So this guy is the type of guy that sleeps and he'll snore the whole room is vibrating. Bro, I literally open the door and walk out.
Right.
I know I'll come back and he won't be awake.
Won't be awake.
I had a blast. But after that, my dad was like, nah, you got to come close to home because I'm not going to keep paying double tuition for you to keep getting in trouble. They keep sending you home. What the fuck's going on?
Right.
I come back to this school. It's a Muslim school, and the very first year there
Come back home to Kenya.
I come back to Kenya.
And after your 6 years in Uganda.
Yes, I'd pretty much been there for 6 years. The beginning of the 6th year is where I didn't continue in Uganda.
Okay.
So the beginning of that year, they took me to an all boys school. First option when I was in Kenya was an all boys school because Eddie's a troublemaker.
Right.
They take me there. Literally, the first day I get expelled. I didn't even have my uniform. They were still showing me the school, bro. But a bell rang, bro. I think it's called Aria Boys. Aria Boys was well known for hood niggas. Bro, I hear a bell, guys start bolting. I'm in home clothes. I'm still checking out the school. I'm in no rush, bro. Somebody smacks me in the back of my head, bro. Get to class. I'm like, bro, I don't even go here. Who are you talking to? Slaps the fuck out of me. Bro, I smacked the taste out of his mouth, bro.
And then you expect from school to first day.
Before my fucking guardian even got to the bus stop, they told him, come take this kid back, bro. You can't go here no more. He already slapped a teacher.
Wow.
I come home. They're tired, bro. They don't know what the fuck to do with me no more, man. I hear from somebody. Now I'm the one looking for a school. I'm the one looking for a school now. And this is actually the funny story. You remember that Tanzanian guy who played in the NBA? Tall ass dude.
What's his name?
Hashim Thabit.
I don't remember.
Hashim Thabit is a TZ former NBA player that I could have gone to the same high school that he went to. But because that school, it was a basketball school, no question. They were known for it. But those guys woke up at 4:30 in the morning.
So you can't have your party lifestyle in there.
Bruh, fuck that. Hell no. Hell no. I'm sorry, bro.
He said, hell no.
I'm sorry. I said 4:30?
Wow.
I
But
was
wait, funny you said that too. So I after I left my grandma, come back home, and I actually was grateful enough. I had like maybe 1 or 2 years with my dad, helping him with his business, and I was trying to apply for university after my high school. My second part of my high school My first high school I went to was actually the high school fella I went to. Fela Kuti,
Oh,
yeah.
what?
And I didn't really appreciate it at the time.
I
Because I
bro,
tell you,
what?
so where I live, Elite Street is like, let's say, 20 minute, I would say 20, 30-minute walk from my house to Abeokuta Grammar School, which is where Fela Kuti went to, yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't really, that's why I went there, because you go to high school based on region. And I never really appreciated it as much, because I was a kid. I was there one year, went to my grandma's, come back from my grandma's. My second part of my high school was fun. That was a fun one. That's when I went crazy too. Because the second part, because I've been expelled, like my grandma literally sent me out, to be like, I can't do this kid anymore. I would troublemaker too. But mine was more of like a girl situation. But it was actually a lie. But not here or there. Anyways, I come back, I become even worse. Like you said, I become worse of whatever. It's funny how kids do that. When they punish you for something, you actually become worse of it, which is kind of interesting.
You ain't seen shit.
Yeah, you do more of it. The same thing that.
Bet.
And I actually didn't do it back then, but I actually did it when I actually come back. Anyway, I had fun. And then after school, I couldn't get admission for like 2 years, and I was helping my dad. And each year, bro, I would go meet him up like, hey, Dad, it's time for school. And then my dad would look at me. That guy, instead of just letting me understand, like, business has not been good. I don't have money. He'd be like, I don't like how you're talking to me.
Negro League.
That goes a year worth of work right there. And of course, if I wasn't frustrated before, now I'm frustrated.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I don't even say anything. I would just turn around because I can't cuss at him. I would just put my head back, like I'm speaking to myself, and what's that? And then, but he did that to me 2 years in a row, and I remember thinking like, oh, I have to do something, like, because my mom always end up helping out, but she's always like stretched out with bills or whatever. Right. I remember thinking like, yo, I better live it up and figure out how I'm gonna, what I'm gonna do for my life. And I remember started thinking. Then during that time, my older brother went to London. But it was a lot of money, and he was like he was fortunate to be in it. So that wasn't like a legitimate, like, viable idea yet. But I thought like at least if I work a couple of years, I can be able to go meet him in London. But I started thinking like I'm gonna travel. There was something in me that switched, and I was like, I'm gonna travel. I never thought of US though, and there was also a Facebook post. My former Facebook had a post that said, I believe someday I'm gonna be somewhere, USA, Canada, or United Kingdom. And it's kind of crazy that why you have to always be. You have to be very careful with your words, man. I've been to Canada.
Careful with your words? You gotta stop praying. How about that? Stop
Bro,
asking God for stuff.
I've actually been to all 3 countries now that I think about it. I've been to Vancouver. I took the ferry. I've been here, and I've been to London. But it's funny how, that's what started my process. And I went to university in Nigeria, and I was flunking out of school. I could not pass any class. Bro, I was so bad. I was paying this guy to do my math class for me. I was doing my homeboy. I would pay him to do my math. And I remember he was trying to tutor me. And I was like, I looked at it. I was like, because I was studying for computer science.
What the fuck is this shit, man?
I was like, there's no way I'm going to know this. And I was like, there's no way.
Tango, man.
There's no way. I looked at it. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna know this shit. And that drive me to start looking at options, like take it seriously to live in Nigeria, to come to like a foreign country to come to school. That was how I started my
See, that's crazy. Yours is a whole process. The whole reason mine's taking such a long way to tell this story is I never really wanted to come out here. I never did. In fact, when I did leave Kenya, when I did actually end up finding a school, it was a Muslim school. And it was just to knock that shit out, because at this point I was just trying to get. I'd already been offered a scholarship, an art scholarship to the UK, because you remember this is Cambridge.
Wow.
I had a fucking scholarship to go do. I had an art scholarship, bro. I was about that life.
So why didn't you go to Cambridge?
Because I wanted to come out here and play basketball. Fucking Gayle shows up out of nowhere. And he goes, man, you guys, I like your showcase. You got a couple guys here who can play basketball.
Who's Gayle?
Gayle knew. Port Angeles. Little Asian man had ties The couple guys who had already come here, guys I knew,
He come to
they had
Uganda.
come to Port Angeles, bro, to PC. But them guys came out here and vanished. And those were guys who could ball the fuck
Like they were
out.
very, very good.
Bro, I'm talking between the legs in high school.
Wow, that is crazy. That someone from
To
Portland,
come out here,
someone from Portland went to Uganda, or is it Kenya? You say you do?
Kenya.
That
It
that
was
is the
because of one lady. This one lady, I'll forever be grateful to her. Her name is Karthika Lee, I believe is her first name. We call her Miss Lee. I've always known her as Miss Lee, and it's so crazy because basketball wise, she has ties with the Jordan family. So not only did she love basketball, she started her own school. And that year that I came out here, she wanted me to stay and play a year, and then I'll get hooked up properly. But dog, my backstory after Gayle came and said, "Yo, there's a way for you to come play basketball and come to the States." I was about to listen to nobody, bro. I was gonna leave, and that was that.
also that lady you're talking about. She's in Kenya.
Yeah,
She stayed in Kenya.
she owns a school there. She started her own school, and so that Muslim school that I was a part of, right? The lady was trying to tell me to stay because she was going to start her own school, and she wanted me to play for that team the next year. Now it's called the Nairobi International School, NIS. Is the school now?
I've heard about that school.
Yeah, that's that lady, and that's how I got here.
Wow.
That lady, the reason I couldn't stick around was because my pops wasn't in my life at that point.
Do you didn't have any kind of guidance or who to ask what to do?
Guidance, fuck guidance. My dad hadn't been around in my life. I didn't like, you know what I mean. I
Right.
didn't, like I said, this whole attention thing. I never once, looked outside of myself for approval from other people.
Because he just wasn't there.
It was never there. I had never had the need for any of these things. Just never did, And to get to this place, I asked my pops, like, "Yo, what's up? I'm trying to go hoop." They said they can, they'll hook me up with a partial scholarship. I didn't even tell him about the UK stuff. He was like, "Nah." He was trying to get me to join the. So okay, the part that I left out is after my grandfather was murdered, my dad went and joined the
Yeah,
military
I think you meant mention it, but yeah,
You know what I mean?
Thank
And
you
I
for
just
clarifying that.
try not to really get into all of that because
Right.
I'm not trying to be in the man's
like
shoes.
speakers, yeah,
Yeah,
speakers.
these are
yeah.
his truths.
So his whole idea is to send you to.
So basically, this is the thing. This is what I took from him. He wasn't trying to give me no money, right?
But
He
it was
wanted me to join the military, something he had control over.
so that way he can kind of still influence
To
you.
keep me
but-
close.
Yeah, kind of keep you
You know what I
close.
mean? I went there to ask him. I didn't even really. My mom already gave me money. I did not need anything from dude. He didn't know that. He did not know that. He thought I was coming asking for money. I just needed his blessing. Because fuck, Kenya to fucking Port Angeles, Washington is not
Right.
close.
It's not close.
I just needed you to say, okay, bet, go
So
and come back.
so it wasn't open to the idea, but I'm assuming your mom was supportive of the idea, right?
As soon as I told her, yo, somebody thinks I can really play basketball, and they told me I could go to the States with this. She was like, what?
Right.
For real?
She
Is
see
this
the
is this
opportunity.
serious? If you
And-
can follow it through,
and
follow it
and
through.
and this is kind of interesting that we're coming up on on 2 hours, but I mean we have to kind of cut some part of the podcast of when we stop and start or whatever. But it's kind of interesting that we're getting to this part now because I think we actually just get into the good part, which is after you go to America, which is kind of interesting to kind of. It's kind of interesting. I think it's that you give me all this backstory because me even being your friend,
What?
I didn't really understand. I didn't understand
Oh, the
you or
intricacies.
understand the little, like I mean I feel like now I'm saying it. I'm seeing your experience now here in a whole different light, which is kind of interesting.
I'm glad because that's kind of what I was trying to do is be able to kind of give you a little bit of context.
Yeah, well, it was. Thank you for
Because
doing that because I mean, there's that. I mean, I know you still let so many part of the story out, but in long story short, because I'm a foreign student as well, and I know what that entails. And
Right.
like I said, we both share that same passion of coming here and not having any real plan. I mean, I thought I was. I mean, I didn't even know of my school fee. I thought when I saw the website of the student, international student, I saw 2 credit was $248. That's what I calculated. I didn't know anything
Right.
about 12 credit. I didn't know anything about insurance. I didn't know anything
Right.
about like rent. I didn't even think.
Fucking rent,
I didn't think
bro.
about any of that.
Then nobody told me about no
Bruh,
fucking rent.
I didn't think about like homestay
Shit,
bills
bro.
and all that. Like bro, and it's kind of funny because if I do know, I've told you this before too. I will have come, but I think I'll probably have come with a different plan. But because I came to be a student, I come here because I'm like education in Nigeria is so bad. I just couldn't study it. So I was thinking, when I get here in a smaller class, I mean, it did help though. It did help me study better. But I still don't like school. Period. But it's just better. Here was just better than Nigeria. Way better. Way better, bro.
Bro, I got homeschooled for, like, remember I was telling you, and it's probably a little weird, 13, high school, and all this funny stuff. I didn't have a generic way through school. Like, I skipped a lot of classes. I was homeschooled for the most part. So I'm at home learning all these heavy concepts like economics,
Bro.
the depth of history, learning so many heavy concepts as a kid because, my dad's out here teaching me half of this shit, my mom's teaching me half this shit.
And it's kind of, and that's crazy that you said that because I remember like being in class and all I want to do was just go outside and play soccer because I was very nice soccer player. And I think I tell you that too. I was offered an opportunity to play on a team that was so they were gonna be part of like the U14 or like U17 for
Oh, okay.
but like they come to recruit in the areas and I was with my grandma at the time. And I remember that person believed in me so much. She followed me home and talked to my grandma. And my grandma said no. She didn't even call my dad to tell them. I mean, they probably would have said no too. But she didn't even she didn't even think about it twice. She's like, him? No. He's not going to go play. Bro, it was one of the most just heart, like, shattering.
Oh, it's shattering stuff. That's like the doctor's office thing that I was telling you.
Bro, but
I was so proud of telling this guy this story. And he was like, yeah,
No,
don't hurt yourself.
Gee, so I don't know if you guys have Portland cement, like the Dangote cement that they sell. So
yeah, but
their
it's Bamburi.
that Dangote, their factory is right next in Itorio where my grandma lives. So they have this area that is like, bro, it looks like America. Like it's inside that, but they make it look like this thing has a fake lake in it. I remember like it was this, and the soccer field that have it like a fake lake around it, and that's where we go to train. They come to pick us from my school, and they pick us these young kids to come try out there. And out of like, that was my first try in my life. It was like 400 kids. I wasn't even that good at to myself because I was sitting there all day before they even called us up, and I was so hungry. But I still play. I score goals, but I wasn't. I was able to place the ball, but I didn't have power or shot.
No.
But that guy just said something with the coach. The guy just. It was just my instinct to attack because you can't really teach how someone can just go and score, right?
Right.
So
right.
and the kid,
the killer instinct.
Yeah, and I was 12. So the guy was like, "Oh, this kid has potential. He's fast. He can run all day, and he has like at that point I play soccer every recess, and I'm always scoring 6-5 goals. I've always So anyway, it was just like I remember like that guy just telling me that I was good, and it was like the first time like anybody. That guy's name was Beshi, anybody just believed in me, and I remember like something just switched like, oh, like yo, I'm finna be like put everything like because school was good, but there was nothing in my life that I can because again like I said I'm in class. This is one thing that I know that about me. Like I'll be in class and I'll be thinking the whole day about lunchtime how I'm gonna score, the whole day. And I remember because we play at lunch and after school. And after school, I'll play. And after we finish that, and school wasn't that hard for me. Like I wasn't bad student, but it wasn't something like I look forward to. Like
No. I mean, you had better things.
Yeah. So, but anyways, brother, that was a crazy experience because, when she like just ruined that dream, like at that point, I mean, I'm glad that everything happened the way it happened,
Right.
but it was just like so I couldn't take it because she didn't even see me play. You
course.
know, she didn't
Yeah.
even like
She completely dismissed it without
they just dismissed
any
it. Man.
evidence whatsoever. So I mean, it's pretty kind of crazy. Maybe actually now that you mention it, I think I probably took that shit pretty personal when I told my dad about
100%, bro. I never forget my
about
grandma
the
for that,
rugby.
bro.
Yeah, because now that I think about it, I wasn't really when I went, and that was the first time I actually went to Sudan.
Really?
Yeah.
When you were playing rugby?
No, when I got this basketball opportunity,
That was the first time you went to Sudan.
I'd never held a South Sudanese passport or a Sudanese passport ever.
So you have to go back home to get a passport.
Now, there's an interesting story about that. Is over there they got military service. You can't leave the country without doing military service. So it took my dad and all of his bro. The guy showed up with this full uniform, bro. No, my dad's a colonel in the army. He showed up in his full garb and all of that shit just to get this shit taken care of.
Wow, that's crazy.
I got a waiver to leave the country, bro, that says, okay, this guy doesn't have to do any
Do the
military
military.
service. That was the first time I got into South Sudan, into Juba. That was the first time I got to Khartoum, and I didn't even last a week. It was too hot for me to handle. And after that, because I remember...
It would have been too hard for you to handle.
the,
Or like
the
too hot?
heat, bro.
The heat? Yeah.
Bro, it was like 105 every day, bro.
I'm sorry, bro.
Dog,
I
I'm
see.
not even. I lived in Nairobi my whole life, bro.
So Nairobi is not that
Nairobi's cool,
compared to South Sudan.
bro. That shit. Their cars don't have the hot button. Their fucking air conditioning goes in one direction, bro, and it's the blue one,
That's the best I ever heard,
bro. We pulled up
Not
and there were
that
people
bad, bro.
sleeping outside.
Oh, that happens in Lagos.
During
too.
the day, there's nobody.
You can't walk.
There's nothing. There's no one. The
Is
only
that
you only
trees
see
there?
cars.
Is that trees inside?
Trees. There's barely palm trees over there. It's so dry.
So dry, right?
Dog, everything is the same color. It's the same as that bloody chair. Everything is that color. Everything.
Oh my god.
The road, the house, everything is this fucking color, bro. This dusty beige. It was, bro, I had a panic
I'm
attack.
sorry.
You were laughing. My brother had to pour a whole bucket of water on me because I had a panic attack. Bro,
I fucking had a panic
listen,
attack of how hard
Listen,
it
I
is,
started
bro.
hyperventilating in the house, right? I'm like,
My
bro,
goodness.
I can't breathe there. I can't breathe really
Bro.
well, bro. I'm like, bro, I can't. I went outside. There's no breeze. It's hotter outside than it is inside. Bro, I thought I was suffocating.
You think you
I
gonna
thought
have
I was-
breath outside?
Bro, I thought I was going to die.
So I should like leave South Sudan out of the places I want to go visit.
You better be warned. You better be fucking warned.
You know what's funny too? Like justice like that. So part of Nigeria is get colder and hotter too. It's kind of like the kind of I would say Muslim territory, but it's not. It's kind of the Hausa line, Hausa part of Nigeria, because there's three tribes in Nigeria: Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. So Hausas are more northern; they're more closer upward, and he get cold. That people have said they've seen some kind of hail. I don't think they have snow, but it gets hot. Like because my dad traveled there. My dad took a train from Lagos. My dad would tell us stories. And I have an uncle that lived there, and they would just say like how hot he gets.
Yeah, it's not fun.
That's
and that
crazy.
wasn't even the summer. No, actually, I went there in the summer. That's why it was so
you fucked
unbelievable.
up.
Because I remember that year, September 17th, September 16th is when I left Nairobi and got to the States on September 17th. 18th is when I actually got here.
What year?
07. It took me-
07?
Yeah. It took me 38 hours
Wow,
to get here.
I got 38 hours. I got here in 24 flying. And I have a 16 hours flight from Lagos to Atlanta. It was the longest flight, but I didn't sleep one time. I was so excited.
Oh, bro.
I was elated.
We got drunk on a plane, bro.
Bruh, so
Actually, that's funny shit.
backstory. back. Let's go back to like what you said earlier. Um, I think just part of like me just being like older and like understand some of the stuff that are going on in my life. No, those things I resent that we're talking about, like your dad, bro.
Oh
Those
yeah.
things you never leave
You
on.
can't. I
But
mean,
you know
yeah.
why though, G? Like not only is your dad right, like this person, the way they control us, at least they make it seems like they are gonna have control. They're gonna provide everything we want for us. For the way they monitor everything we do, right? They're always very
I mean, he
bossy,
has
very
his own
controlling.
vision of what he sees his
It's
son.
sound to be doing. But the
Right.
worst part is this, bro. This is what I think the soccer thing. Like I could never forgive my grandma for. It's like I went out to get that,
Yeah.
bro. You went out to get the rugby. Like you had to like, and this is early on, right? Like you went out there to
Bro,
find something for yourself,
listen.
and all you had to do, bro, was either support it, but don't be in my way, and they just shut it down,
Yeah. That's
just
the
like
best way
that.
to put it. It got shut down.
Oh no, they just, bro, it was done.
Uh,
You were because we were still kids at that point.
I mean, hearing this from somebody you supposedly look up to, and this is and this is particularly harder, right? Because, like I said, bro, I when most kids are asked, what do you want to be when you grow up, and pilot, bro, I was like, I'm trying to be like my pops, bro. I gotta walk in a room and everybody goes silent.
Silence. You want that
That
respect.
shit used to trip me the fuck out. I'm like, bro, how? This guy ain't even that serious. I fucking give him hell every fucking chance I get.
Wow.
Cause my dad's the type to get angry until his eyes turn red. He's scary for a lot of people.
But like,
My dad is such a teddy bear to me, bro. It's not even
wow.
funny. I've never taken my dad seriously. Never. Cause if I did that, we yeah, I can't even imagine how bad that could have turned out.
Right. So you saying before you left for America, there was no really real backing financially for like what you were trying to come to do here.
Oh fuck no! I just knew I was coming here, junior college. That's why I chose the junior college. It was 2 years, and I come back home. We agreed with my mom like this is something I need to do. Get it off my chest.
But you still didn't have any plan or any source of like financial income, which
Oh fuck no! When I told my mom about it, I was even surprised she had money.
so your mom was trying to sponsor you in the beginning.
Bro, when I told her about this, she was like, "Yo, don't even trip, man. If they give you a scholarship or not, I got you." Cause we agreed on it. It's 2 years. 2 years ain't shit, bro. This is me talking like this 15 years after the fact. It's supposed to be just 2 fucking years, bro. That's the whole reason I chose this place over the UK. The University of Kent, Doug, offered me a scholarship.
So, full ride.
Yeah. Because of my art.
Fuck.
Bro, I did 3 or 4 people's finals and they all got A's. I was the one when when you hear people do other people's finals, I was doing people's art finals.
And just so you know, for someone that doesn't know, at some point, like you probably have to put like Eddie's a really good artist. Like he has a lot of crazy drawings, all over his house, which is kind of interesting. I just never know that was on the table for you, which is crazy because I feel like your life would have been so different. And now that I even hear this story, it makes me kind of sympathize a bit about.
I had major plans.
It just made me kind of sympathize about how your experience in America actually, end up being, knowing the backstory of now how you got here. Because I was under the impression, and I will be very careful. I don't know if someone told me this, and I don't know if it's you that told me this, so I need to be very careful so I don't start some fake rumor.
You're sitting right here.
I'm just saying. But I want to be careful when I'm saying third party words that I'm not. This is years ago. I thought, or maybe it were you that told me that you had the money for the school fee and you didn't pay, or something happened, or maybe you didn't have it. But I don't know if you say you didn't have it or you said.
For the first year I didn't have any problems. Second year, bro, I misplaced the remainder of some amount. It must have been like two G's.
But I owe 9,000 for like 3/4.
Yeah.
For school fee.
Bro, when I tell you listen, they refused because Actually,
We're good.
so check it. So there's an emergency loan that you can get from the school
I didn't know that.
bro. So they got that and paid for the school. I mean, for that quarter, and I paid slowly after the fact.
Okay.
Now, mind you, this was before the split of the country. I got here in 2007, 2009. I mean, 2007, 2008. In 2009, when South Sudan got its independence, that's when the splitting started. The splitting became official in 2011.
Okay.
2009, I can't get any money sent because sanctions. South Sudan, Sudan. Remember, there was no South Sudan then.
So hold on a second. Were your mom sending you money from South Sudan?
She was my only sponsor. Yeah, I was getting money straight from home.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the luck of that, which is like everything we talk about. Well, you know what?
No,
I'm out. I'm out to.
Bro,
I'm out to save that one
gets
for.
even crazier because
I'm out to save that one for another podcast because
the passport that I had gotten from going to Sudan for the first time was only valid for 2 years, as long as my program. Early 2010, bruh, passport expired.
it's almost like everything. I mean, looking back, I feel like every roadblock that was there was like a ticking time bomb that was like on the side road for you. And
Shit,
the
bruh,
road
we
was
can
so
keep going because March 2010, I was in immigration, locked up, looking through bars. The only part you see of outside is the opening in the ceiling.
That's crazy.
4.5 months locked up in that motherfucker. But this is what's crazy about how that even happened.
I'm being being a foreign exchange student.
Oh, bro. So got here 07. All of 08 had some issues. End of 08, fall. They paid for my fall quarter, and my winter quarter, and I was paying for it slowly. No, fall. I was paying for it slowly. Then, while I was trying to figure that out, they only give it to you once. No, they give it to you once or twice. Winter quarter, the whole of 08, I was having problems with getting money.
Did you thought about running away?
I did. I really. But this is the thing, though. It's not why I came here.
You want to play basketball?
I came here to hoop, and even that was not even given to me because I come over here, and the fucking coach is a closet racist. Oh, black boys are hard to coach. So he goes all the way to fucking Utah to go recruit. How I know all these things I'm saying are true? Because when Coach V came, Coach V won a championship that same fucking year.
Wow.
Coach V asked me if I could play on his team. I could have had a fucking NWAC championship ring. But because my passport was expired, I couldn't get another one. Worst still is, while I was in immigration early March, I was in immigration for almost 5.5 months. This whole time, this bitch ass nigga, see, I'm not stupid also, is while all this stuff was going on, I went and talked to Gayao, the international student advisor, and I told him, yo, a lot of shit's going on back home. I'm having problems. So before this shit hits the fucking fan, I've been invited to a school in San Diego. They want me to come up for a tryout. Bro, this guy pulls a drawer and gives me out his what do they call it? A new F1 that was valid for an F1 form that he filled out right there, and he even told him, came back and he said his shit is valid for 6 months. If you can get your affairs together, if the school doesn't get you, at least you can go home. I'm like, bet, no problem. I go to San Diego, go to the basketball tryout, I come back, and they said, okay, we're waiting for a couple other guys to come through, and then, we'll see. if you made the list, bro. I come right back here. I don't know if this nigga thought I was going to vanish, disappear around, or go wherever the fuck. I'm not one of those people. Remember, I refuse to snitch until this day.
Why?
I'm a principal dude. I don't. If I'm not gonna do something, I'm not gonna do it.
Why?
You know what I mean? But he signs this I-20. I go to San Diego, and as soon as I come back into town, I'm already can tell weird shits. I'm feeling weird. That first day I came back to play basketball at the gym, immigration agents. Gayo saw me and he went and called those guys.
He was when I want to call them.
I saw him. I came into the gyms. We locked eyes. He left the gym. That same day before the day was done, I was in an immigration car headed to Tacoma. All this time goes by. I'm in there 3.5 months. And that's a whole nother story altogether. The whole being in immigration and getting locked up.
Bruh, I think I'm just gonna like put a stop on that one, but my God, bro, this is crazy. This is just crazy. Because I think we're just getting to the good part. And even though I don't know when I'm gonna be able to be space or the time to come to do this again, but I wanna have a fresh ear to listen and really let you get into it, because I think,
no doubt. It's been a pleasure.
I think this the next part of your journey, in terms of you getting here and how losing your status is even the craziest version of it, and it's getting to, well, bro, it's getting to, because it's getting to the interesting part, because your story is so important for my story, because I got here. I mean, I was lucky. I had my brother in London to kind of help me out.
That's when we met, actually. When I got out of immigration.
Just get out. Just get out. Just got out, bro. And
that's crazy.
And I never knew at the time why you were so keep to yourself, or you always be the one to eat last. I just know, like I thought at first I was like, man, this guy's rude or whatever. But then the more I would just keep annoying you. I just remember, like, I would just keep annoying you to talk. And then at some point you started talking to me, and then you just give me a little here and there, and I was like, oh, because I didn't know you were a student. You didn't act like you were a student at PC, And then I think one day Omar was gonna tell me, oh yeah, Eddie play basketball, Eddie, whatever, and I was like, for real? I was like, oh, okay. And then I started knowing about you. The reason why your story is so important is because I could have been in the same position you are,
Right.
But the advisor that I had, Val,
Val's a sweetheart.
Val was one telling me that if you keep coming to class, even though you haven't paid school fee, they can't really deport you. She's like, if you come to class, you have good grade. Because I was so scared that I was so want to marry a crackhead or someone that was doing drugs, because of that same fear. Yeah, which I think only you can understand. I can only talk to you about that, guys, and I know like you understand what I'm talking about.
Well, a lot of people don't get it.
You can't understand that pressure.
That's why I said earlier, like, being out here and not having no kids and not getting married, people don't really understand.
People don't understand, because I mean, bro, like I said, I saw someone that I know wasn't fit. I mean, I don't know that she was doing drug at the time, but I know she wasn't in the right mind to help me. But I was so nervous for like what you're talking about.
Yeah,
just that
getting the whole life just
wiped out right in front of you. But like, I see my story and your story because of how my situation I could have went. But then it's not even about that. It's kind of how you took it all in the chain. But then the backstories of this Uganda and Kenya and South Sudan and part of who you are, it even makes it. It's kind of like it's showing exactly what I'm trying to show about diasporans. It's like people that come here first generation, and I know people know our situations are hard and all that, but like they don't really understand, especially for us, because a lot of us that comes as students, so we're kind of different. We're not like people that just come here just to like run away and find a way of living. Yeah, we come here and we're students. So immediately we're exposed to all these things and all these people and all this information, right? But also we're in this limbo where everybody's like partying and having fun. Well, we're kind of doing it too because we don't know better. But we also have to like deal with like life.
You can't be out here all night.
Bro, you have to kind of.
Shit to do.
I remember like Nathan, we finish partying, Nathan will go back home, and I'm like, And I tell you what I tell you today. My mom told me, like, my dad passed. I'm like, Mom, can I come? And she's like, you cannot come home. There's no home to come to.
Right.
Your uncles just sent me out of the house we live in. I don't know where to go. You cannot come home. And I remember I was just like, man, people don't even realize what we just party together. But our life is not, like, I'm 20 G, and I'm like, I can't go back home. And I'm in America
I was
where I don't
sitting
know.
over here, and that's the exact same shit my mom told me. You know, because I'm gonna keep it all the way 100.
Right.
I was like, yo,
And
I'm
not-
tired of this shit.
And not because she
I'm
doesn't
tired
love
of-
you, but because you just know, like, the situation at home is even worse than whatever you're going through
it's
there.
even worse. Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, bro, honestly, I'm not the type to take, like you said, take shit in the chin. That's never been me, bro.
Yeah.
I'm
probably
one
take
to
more stuff in the chin,
react,
bro.
bro.
I take
But
some stuff in the chin.
People don't understand. You can't fight back when it's your name on a piece of paper, fucking about an inch thick with other pieces of paper that says, Edmund versus the United States. You can't fucking win that shit. People don't understand. Bro, I was in there and I got out without a lawyer.
You told me. And they also, bro, I do not want to, like, get into it because I know there's so many part of that story that is so intriguing. But gee, I'm gonna thank you, bro.
No, it's been a pleasure, man.
And I really
Pleasure,
hope
bro.
you and Uma, I'm gonna put you guys on the blast. You guys start your podcast because you guys have crazy, amazing story like this, to share. But